Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time in your day to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. I have my funny, not warm tea, but I actually have some chai. Also, how cute are these Baby Yoda glasses? Aren't they so cool? Got them at Bed Bath & Beyond as a Christmas gift for Paul this year. Or last year, I guess. But anyways, in today's video, we're going to be doing my Commander Graveyard, as I'm calling this, where basically these are just like decks I don't play anymore. I don't have these decks. And if you know me as a Commander player, you know that when I build a project, first off, it takes me a really long time. I am not someone who just spits out deck lists where I'm like, you know, this is it. I take a long time before I build something. I usually take a long time to acquire the cards and get that sort of, you know, going. I'm not someone who constantly builds decks and takes them apart. There's nothing wrong with that. One of my great friends, Trav, that's what he does, and that's what works for him. That's great. He does have a couple tried and trues, but there's some that he just like, he's constantly tinkering, constantly, you know, playing around, all that sort of stuff. And for me, I'm someone who, when I build a project, I'm usually just like very serious about it, and I'm like, I'm just gonna sit down, I'm gonna focus on this. I think focus is a really good word. I'm like very focused on this one thing that I'm really doing, and I'm trying to make this deck very good. So usually what happens is I build something, and it's, I don't want to say very like good. I don't think I'm like a great deck builder or anything. Like, I'm fine, I guess. I'm an okay deck builder, but like I don't usually make a lot of tweaks or things like that. Yeah, I might tweak a handful of cards, but I'm not tweaking like 50% of the deck or something like that, because I take the time and make those steps to, you know, round out my deck list and all that sort of stuff. And so that's just kind of a little bit about me as like a deck builder and kind of like what I do. But these are things that for whatever reason, I don't have them anymore. And I'm going to kind of like go through each deck and be like, I don't have this anymore, and why I basically took it apart, what the deck kind of did, how I felt about it, all that kind of stuff. So some of these you guys might know, some of them you might not. Some of these were before I like even started like being on, you know, like YouTube and whatnot, so I thought it'd be really interesting. But yeah, let's just hop into it. Let's first start talking about the first deck that came into my mind, which was Kaalia of the Vast. So this was prior to YouTube, Tracy, and I basically, okay, so this was actually a pretty cool story about how I built this deck and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty much, I had been thinking about getting into, this was even before I like got into Commander. I was thinking about getting into Commander, and I was thinking, actually funny enough, about building a Kaalia deck. And so, I go to visit, Paul and I go to visit our friend, Eddie in college, and they had like some Commander, you know, they were playing Commander, and they were like, oh, hey, like, you know, we have like some decks you want to pick through and you want to play it. I was like, yeah, totally. And then I think like it just came up where the guy's like, yeah, I have a Kaalia the Vast deck. I was like, Kaalia the Vast? I was like, that's funny, I'm thinking about building that. And he's like, you want to play it? And I was like, sure. This was before, like, I didn't have any decks at the time. So like I grabbed this deck and I piloted it, and I'm like, this is so much fun, I need to build this. And so I totally took inspiration from that, and I will honestly, like, I will never forget this story. I won a writing contest, and I got $100 from that writing contest. I won 2 separate awards in this contest. I got $100, and I go to the store and I use that $100 to buy magic cards, and then I probably spent around like $40 or so left. And my mom was so mad at me. She was like, so mad. This was years ago. This was a really long time ago. Now she like doesn't care, you know, like, I'm an adult, I can do what I want, you know, with my money. So like she was just so upset at me that I did that. So anyways, I shell out the money, and you know, a lot of those cards too at the time, you gotta keep in mind, this was like 2013 or 2014, around there. And so this is at a time where like angels weren't as like prevalent and stuff like that. And so like it was just, a lot of those cards were like definitely more expensive. And I'm not talking foils, I'm just talking like base, bare bones, like cards. So anyways, I go and I build this deck, and oh my gosh, I love this deck. It was so fun. And basically the ultimate reason why I took it apart is because every single time I played it, I was aggressively targeted, which I totally understand. And not even just that, that's actually really not the core reason why I took it apart, because I've actually been reconsidering rebuilding Kaalia, and more on this idea later when I talk about another Mardu commander. And basically I wasn't as good of a deck builder as I was now. Again, not saying I'm amazing, but I've learned a lot, and I didn't have a lot of mana rocks and acceleration. And so if Kaalia died, I was just kind of like, I can't really recast her again, and I can't really do anything else. And like, I didn't have like Swiftfoot Boots and like cards like that to really protect her. And because again, she's one of those commanders that you play and people are like, okay, we need to kill that commander, you know what I mean? So anyways, I've been thinking about rebuilding this deck, and it's kind of like really on the back burner. got some other stuff, but you know what? You might see Kalia in a future Commander update in the future, because I think she'd be so fun to rebuild again, especially knowing all my knowledge that I know now. I would say the biggest thing that I don't want is I don't want it to just be like all angels, because I already have Avacyn, and I guess there wouldn't really be overlap with Rune, because those are, I mean, maybe like some of the red-white angels, but even though there's like two, there's like Gisela and I always forget the other one. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Not Mardu, the red-white other angel that I'm blanking on the name of. That's not Gisela. But anyways, so yeah, that's kind of Kalia, and that's kind of like the story about Kalia and whatnot. Yeah, okay, cool. The next commander deck that I no longer have, that for very good reason, is Talon. And here's the reason why Talon is no longer with me, is the fact that the deck was just mean. Like, the deck was ridiculous 1v1, like absolutely ridiculous, because you ran so many counter spells. The deck was so cheap. Like, if you're looking for a really cheap commander deck like Talon, you can literally build him so cheap, because you basically run draw cards, counter spells, and like I don't know, do you really need anything else? You know what I mean? Because you pop out Talon and then you have 2/2s and then you kill people that way, and you can do some infinite combos and things like that with like mono blue. But like, it's just, it was a really cool deck, and I did really enjoy it. It was just kind of like, the whole point was just you just counter everyone's things, and it was so heavy control. And I think my whole thing with that is, again, it was really mean 1v1, and I feel like I liked that aspect when I'm playing really competitive Magic, but I don't play competitive Commander. And so I think like differentiating myself between like at the time being like a modern player and then a Commander player, and realizing that I just don't really want to be a control player, control player. Now, that's not to say that I don't run a solid amount of removal, because I do, but it was a different sort of deck for me, and it just, I didn't really enjoy it very much. And again, 1v1, it was just ridiculous, because you literally countered every single spell that they played, and it was a little, like, insane, you know what I mean? So, yeah, just really not, I think that was just, like, very out of my comfort zone, and just not something that I would ever really do that again, you know? Okay, the next deck, oh, man. We have Yeson, the Wanderer Nissan, which if you need that title, you can just go ahead and like steal that as your commander deck. If you're interested in the title, if you have Yeson, you're thinking about building him. But okay, so Yeson, my biggest issue with this deck and why I took it apart is the reality is that the deck played linear and the same way every single game, and I did not enjoy that. And basically what I mean is every single time I sat down, I would have, the way that the deck works is with Yeson is you maximize untapping and tapping him, so you run cards like that, which is great. And then the other, so you can get multiple things in a turn, but what I would do is I would have a range of like 1 to like 9 mana or 10 or 11 mana, whatever it was, spells. So I had kind of like an even distribution, I would say, between like 1 and like 7 or 8 or something like that, and then like your higher end, you had like, you know, just a handful of cards. And my thing was, is like every single time I sat down, I'd pretty much always get the same stuff. And I just didn't like that. I feel like, to me, I like decks where like I don't play it the same way every single game. I like that variety. And that's like one thing too that I think is really cool about, like, you know, when I play like Tassiger, for example, and I have a lot of tutors, I don't always tutor for the same thing, which is kind of why I took the infinite combo out, because it's like I could get that off so easily where it was almost too easy, and it was like I just don't want to do that, you know what I mean? So I feel like every time I played Yeson, it was just the same game over and over and over again, whereas if you're looking for a deck like that, Yeson's really great. You can run a lot of really awesome stuff. There's a lot of really amazing like mono green, like I think, in my opinion, I think green is the best commander color, like that's just what I feel, how I feel. And I think that, you know, the deck was definitely good and it was definitely strong. It just, like, I don't like to play the same thing over and over again. Like, every game was the same. And to me, variety is the spice of life. So yeah, I took that deck apart. Okay, the next commander is Karanos. And if I'm being very real with you guys, I don't really remember this deck very well. Like, some of these I'm just like, what did I do? You know what I mean? And Karanos was a little bit like that. I think it was kind of similar to Talon in that way, in that it ran a lot of, like, counter spells and all that kind of stuff. And, like, Karanos was just a way that you could draw a lot of cards and, like, draw, do an extra damage, all that kind of stuff. It was kind of like, funny enough, it was kind of like that deck, and then now I have Riku, and Riku runs a lot of, like, silly cards like Comet Storm, which I know, you can make fun of me, but that card's actually pretty good in Commander, okay? So it kind of ran cards like that where it was, like, X spells, and I think, like, now Karanos is kind of like, Riku is kind of like the grown-up, more refined version of Karanos, you know what I mean? I absolutely love Karanos as a card. He is one of my all-time favorite cards. If you remember, back in my modern days, I literally would main board Karanos and Grixis Control. Like, that is how much I love this card. I think it's one of the, like, my favorite cards, like, one of my top cards. And so I feel like I've always just been kind of thinking about a way to, like, run Karanos in something or do something with Karanos, because I just think he is so incredibly strong, and I loved having him as a commander because I never had to be like, oh, am I going to draw Karanos today? It was like I always had access to him. I think I don't foresee myself rebuilding him, though, because I think it would be so similar to what I'm doing in Riku, and I don't like my decks being super similar to each other. But with that being said, absolutely love Karanos. Like, if there was ever a time where I was running something with those effects, like, I don't know, or like cards came out that I found a different way to run him as a commander that wasn't Riku stuff, I'd probably do it. So that's that. Okay, we gotta talk about Super Friends. Okay, I understand that I'm going to sound like a hipster here, and I just need you to bear with me for, like, a solid minute, okay? Then you can berate me in the comments, but, like, just give me a minute, okay? So basically, I built Super Friends with, who even was the commander? No idea. You're gonna think Atraxa. It wasn't Atraxa. This was before Atraxa was printed. AKA, this is my hipster showing. I built it before other people built it. I know, I'm annoying. Anyways, so I built it, and I literally am trying to think so hard about who the commander was, and I couldn't even tell you guys. I don't remember. Was it Sliver Queen? I have no idea. But anyways, if you don't know, Super Friends is just basically Planeswalkers, and the thing about it is, like, the deck was fine. It just was like, okay, this is a very hot take, and again, I know I asked you to bear with me for a minute. I need you to bear with me for another 30 seconds. I just think the deck is boring. Yeah, I just think Super Friends is a super boring thing. You know how some people are like, I don't like tribal stuff, or I don't like a bunch of counter spells. That's how I feel about Super Friends. I just, like, every time I played it, I was like, this is kind of dumb. But not dumb like good dumb. Just kind of like dumb. I don't like this. I'm gonna get so flamed in these comments. I just, like, I don't know. It just wasn't a thing for me. And then, with that being said, then Atraxa came out, and everyone and their mother flocked to Atraxa, and I'm just so over seeing Atraxa Commander. Like, I'm just over it. Like, someone at the table pulls out Atraxa, I'm like, you know, like, in Devil Wears Prada, where Meryl Streep is like, florals for spring, groundbreaking. That's how I feel. It's like Atraxa Super Friends, groundbreaking. Rolls eyes. That's how I feel. We're moving on. Okay, Rune. Okay, cool. So I feel like the Bant's color combination, in theory, love the Bant color combination. Like, oh my gosh, so fun, blinking stuff. I had a very simple Rune deck. Very much classic stuff. And I actually think that's part of why I took it apart. Because it felt like, when I build stuff, I want this to be, like, myself. I don't want a net deck. Nothing wrong with that. I don't want to do that personally. There's zero judgment here. If you want to do that, I'm so happy for you. Please net deck. If you want to do that, great for you. Not me, though. So, like, I feel like Rune was like, I went on to, like, someone else's deck and I copied their exact deck list, which obviously didn't happen, but that's how I felt. And it felt like I was running all these amazing cards. Like, I ran so many cards that I loved casting. And so it just, like, it didn't do it for me. It kind of felt a little bit like Yeson too, where it felt like I was just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And it just kind of got boring to me. And that, with that being said, though, I love the Bant color combination. I think Rune and, like, Brago decks are, like, super cool. And I would say, if you're thinking about building one, I would definitely go for Rune over Brago, because the amount of green stuff you get is, like, absolute fire with blinking, where I think you miss out on a lot of that when you're just playing the two colors. So but I'm a little biased because green's my favorite commander color, so, yeah. But anyways, yeah, I just, like, the deck just really didn't do it for me. I definitely foresee myself having a Bant commander deck in the future, just not with Rune. You know what I mean? Because, like, God, there's so many cool cards you can run in there. Like, I love it. Okay, cool. Elesha. Okay, this is probably, like, my funniest story, I would say. Maybe you won't laugh. I don't know if you'll laugh, but, like, this is hilarious to me. So I build Elesha commander, right? And, I'm super excited about it because it's Mardu, and black-white is, I love black-white. Love it. Orzhov, I'm all about it. Like, I would say Orzhov and Simic, that's my jam right here. You just splash in that red. And y'all know, red and I, we don't always get along. It's at the bottom of my list. I'm usually very underwhelmed in red. I'm like, God, we're printing lightning bolt, like, variations of lightning bolts. I'm over it. You know what I mean? So basically, I build Elesha. I play the deck one time, and I take it apart. Yeah, I hated it that much. I did absolutely nothing in that game at all. I was running these, like, creatures that just didn't feel powerful at all to me. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna attack you with my 3/2. Like, what am I doing? Like, I felt like I was doing absolutely nothing, and I hated it. I would say, looking at a lot of these, I'm like, oh yeah, you know, whatever. Like, I said Super Friends is boring, but, like, no, like, I hated it. It was awful. And it's like, that's how I feel like about that Mardu color combination, and it doesn't make sense to me because I love Orzhov so much. So you'd think, oh my gosh, like 2/3 of the deck or 2/3 of the colors, like, you should be good. Apparently not. It's just, I don't know. It's like, I want so hard, badly to run, to have some sort of Mardu deck, but it wasn't Elesha. It just wasn't. We tried. Should I have tried more? Yeah. Giving a commander one game is not very fair. But, yeah, that's how that went. So, yeah, don't follow my example. Please test out your commander more than one game. Don't follow my advice. I'll let you know that I haven't done that since, so be proud of me. Okay, cool. Okay, let's talk about Cat Tribal. So, I was really high on this build, on this deck. I actually was I had full intentions of doing a deck tech on it. It was green-white, which I don't remember the commander, but there'll be a picture here. But basically, I was super excited about this deck. I was like, oh my gosh, cats. I love cats. I have 2 cats. They're pawing at my door right now. Leia and Zelda, love them to pieces. They're the biggest troublemakers ever. It's also really funny, like, one of my kids that I had, like, last year, like, I see her the other day, and she's like, how are your cats, miss? And I was like, I love it. The kids, like, they all know, like, I have cats and, you know, whatever. So in theory, like, all the pieces are there, and it's, like, green-white. Like, come on. Like, oh my gosh, we keep talking about all these, like, dual colors, but I do really enjoy green-white as well. Well, it's Karametro, and so I've always kind of been, like, a little, like, I want green-white something. And so I built this deck, and I was so excited about it, and it was very simple. It was Cat Tribal and then equipments. And I don't know, y'all, what it is, but for some reason, equipments and I have tried. I've probably tried in other decks that I'm not even talking to you about, where I've tried more. I definitely tried it with other equipment stuff. I couldn't even tell you what else. But I have tried to make equipments work, and it's just, like, not for me. And honestly, I don't know what it is, but it's like, I don't care for it. I see other people doing it. I respect equipments. I think they're awesome. I've seen other people build such solid equipment decks and do so many cool things, and you run really great cards. And for some reason, when I do it, it's like, what are you doing? It never clicked with me. Like, this is the deck that I would say confuses me the most, because it's like all the pieces were there. I'm playing a good color combination. I'm playing cats. I'm playing equipments. I'm playing powerful things. Like the deck, I don't know if you can hear Leia right now. She's hysterical. Not really hysterical. She's crying. But it's like, all the pieces should be there for me to like this, and it just doesn't it didn't do it for me. It really didn't, which really makes me sad because I really wanted to like this deck, and I've been thinking about doing like that color combination in something else, the Scythius Harvest Hand card that came out, but I'm not really sure, so that's like a super back burner project. Yeah, okay. And the last commander deck that I'm going to talk about in this video, again, there's probably others that I've taken apart and whatnot that I can't remember. These were the 9 that I remembered, is Afara, God of the Police. And this one is actually kind of a cool story because I had actually built Afara with, also, this is just a very important time frame to note that I built this deck before, this was Merfolk Tribal. Let's start with that. And, this was before Ixalan came out, because Ixalan has fire merfolk, especially like green merfolk. So this was before that. That's an important thing to note about this story, because I think, because I have merfolk now. It's just with the different commander. It's this Zagana, which I personally really love this commander, and I feel like of a lot of the merfolk that get picked as commanders, this is one that I don't think a lot of people have, but I personally really love this Zagana. I love other Zagana too. I really love this card a lot. I really enjoy this, so this has been a really great, and if I didn't have her as the commander, I would definitely do, like, she'd still be in the deck. Like, she's still a really good card. I don't feel like a lot of people talk about this card, and you know, but she's really good. I really like her as the commander. So, anyways, so I had actually built, cats, I'd actually built, Afara, and I don't actually remember, this was a bit ago, so I don't actually remember what it was about it, but I took the deck apart. This is one that I really just, for some reason, I don't have very strong memories of, which I'm not 100% sure why. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna let them in there. Hysterical. A cat update, that was actually Zelda, not Leia, which is weird, because Leia's usually, like, the more needy one, but okay. Zelda, I feel like, just literally tolerates us, and, you know, that's just how it is. So anyways, I don't really have fond memories of why not fond memories, but I don't really have a memory of why I took this deck apart, but I did. The really cool thing about it, though, is that this deck got reinvented as Zagana, which is really cool, so I kept, you know, the Merfolk tribe. I think Merfolk is a really great tribe. I really like it. And obviously, I've taken out the white and replaced it with green, which is really cool. Some things I am missing out on, like the white on, where I'm like, oh man, those would be like cool to run. But as far as I'm aware, I can't think of any tri-colored merfolk that I'm thinking of off the top of my head. If there is one, can you let me know? Because it's not coming to me that there is that also could have white. And so I really liked playing Afara as the commander because I would have ways of putting tokens or other merfolk on other people's turns, from what I can remember. And then I would draw a card. So I actually have also taken Afara and put it in my ladies deck, which I really love in there because I do basically that there. If I have Silver Queen out, I can make a token on other people's turns, and then I get to draw a card, which I really like. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that as a commander, and that was, like, a super cool deck, and I would say, like, that's definitely a really good change, and I really like the aspect of green. I would say it'd be really awesome to have more. If they wanted to push merfolk as a tribe more, it would be really cool to have, like, the tri-colored, like, Bant commander would be really cool, and to have more, like, white support for merfolk. I don't know if that's the direction that they'll ever go, but it would be cool to have that. But for now, it's just Simic, which I really love. I love Simic, so that deck is super cool, and I'll probably be doing an updated deck tech for you guys because I think I try to do updated deck techs, like, every, like, 2 years. But yeah, so let me know if you guys are interested. Let me know if there's any deck techs that you want updated versions of. That'd actually be really helpful for me because I need to go through and figure out what deck techs I need to update. So, yeah, guys, that is everything. This is my commander graveyard stuff I no longer have. I'd really like to hear in the comments below what are decks that you really wanted to work, or a deck that you built that you hated and you immediately took it apart, or maybe it took you long to take it apart or whatever. I'd really like to know what are some decks that you did that you took apart or no longer have, or maybe a deck that you're currently thinking about. So I'd really like to know that in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you in my next one.